most of the time when you're moving, so it shouldn't be an issue.
Did you clear?
They're all clear, safe. Yep.
Awesome. Barrel blockers are in.
Barrel blockers are in.
Fantastic.
Okay, you're safe.
All right. Come forward for a second, please. Let me have 1, 2, 3, 4. Come out to the front. In line with me. Spread out here. Spread down, spread down, spread down. Okay. And then you guys back and spread out in between. Okay. When we start doing these drills live, the guys in the back, you got to make sure, be careful not to hit the guys in the front, okay? It's a joke. He's too nervous. All right, very quickly, some positions here. Neutral is this, okay? This is neutral. I want everybody right now to get out of your minds entirely anything having to do with shooting, with fighting, with tactics, everything. Delete, blank, get rid of it. We're humans first. I want everybody stand neutral. Neutral, relaxed. Not like this. Thinking about fighting. Neutral. What's that?
I said he's a mile right here. Walking him on his belt.
Relaxed. Still see some of you in your minds. You're still attached to fighting here. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Everybody nice and relaxed. This is neutral. We have a position that we are going to call neutral ready, which is where we're going to start from for this course everywhere. Neutral ready is this. Everything is still neutral with the exception of the firearm is presented, elbows in my body, firearm arm are 90 degrees perpendicular to my body. This is our neutral ready. Okay, we're not going to work too much, especially on all the dry stuff with drawing from the weapon. You guys know how to do that. So I have some things that I'm bypassing, again, for the interest of squeezing 3 days into 2 days. So, neutral ready. The first thing we're going to look at here is our body position. We're in the -5. Everybody, put your eyes on a target in front of you for a sec. This is not paper in front of you. This is this terror threat that has come to your town to hunt down innocent children, women, and men to put bullets in them. And he will put a bullet in you so that you do not get in the way of his business. Keep your eyes focused on that. You see how that individual has his weapon drawn and pointing at you? The weapon is not just drawn pointing at you. Every single second for the duration of these 2 days, there are rounds flying out of his muzzle directed at you. That is what you're going up against. -5, our body. First thing we're going to look at very quickly is our legs, our base. What happens to us? An explosion hits us, gets us by surprise, the whole body collapses. That is going to become our platform. So from here, we have a weapon side, we have a support side. Your weapon side does not move. We keep it anchored. We want the weapon side as stable as possible so that our hand can reach and access the weapon as quickly as possible without any hindrances or impediments at all. Support side, we don't get into a stance. We have no time to get into stances, number one. Number two, we have to work with our natural instinct. Natural instinct is that our body is going to crouch and we're going to slightly open up. And that's all we're going to do. Our support leg is simply going to shoot out to the side. A natural movement, and it's simply going to stop where it stops. As if I'm just sitting down, and where my leg stops, that's where it stops. Our feet, as if they're on skis, okay? Which means, skis, if we're skiing, we're not skiing like this, we're not skiing like this. They're here, parallel to each other. My toes are pointed forward, knees are forward, hips are forward, all right? So from here, nice and relaxed, and we're just going to sit down a nice short distance. Support leg is gonna open up a nice short distance. Okay, so eyes forward. We're gonna start with that, a couple repetitions. Ready, up. Okay, back, up. Hold it there. Stop where you are. Stop where you are. So look down at your feet. If you were on skis right now going down a hill, which way would you be going? Would your legs be ripping off your body?
Yeah.
Straight, okay? Feet are parallel, toes are pointed forward. Toes are pointed forward. Okay, good. Back. Up. And back. Up. And back. Up. And back. Your support leg shoots out to the side. Don't bring it back. Don't bring it forward. Just parallel off to the side. One more time. Up. And back. Okay. From here, our hands, we're now going to incorporate them. We're not thinking about shooting. We're not thinking about guns. Nothing at all. Just natural, instinctive body reaction. So from here, all that's going to happen is the hands are going to come up. Naturally, they're going to do this. But eventually, we're going to get to incorporating a firearm into this equation. So we're not going to do this right now. All that's going to happen is my hands are going to shoot up until the point where they meet each other. It's going to create this triangle right in front of us. Elbows stay close to the body. Okay, so from here, just like this. Eyes forward. Ready? Up. And back. And back. Up. Excellent. And back. Okay. Everybody take a look at your target. I want you to pinpoint a very specific point on that target, preferably an eyeball, one eyeball of your adversary. Lock your eyes on that eyeball, and I want you to shoot a laser from your eyes to that eyeball, to that one specific point on that target. Create that invisible laser. Everywhere your eyes move, that laser moves. I want that laser on that eyeball. I want you now, keep your eyes where they are. Keep that laser where it is. I want you to take your dominant hand, and I want you to just point at that eyeball. Just point naturally. If you close one eye, check that your fingertip is in line with your laser and is on that eyeball. Is there anybody here whose fingertip is not on that eyeball, where they're looking? Okay, relax. You got both eyes open? Both eyes open. Okay. Both eyes open. Stare at that point. And where's your fingertip ending up? To the left. Okay, now, just one sec. At this distance especially, if you check the tip of your finger, you're going to be covering the entire head, right? Where's your fingertip? Is it on the face? On his head? Where is it?
To the left.
You might have to see a neurologist. All right. What did you do when you said that you were now on? You closed and on?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine, but you're on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Not to elaborate too much on this, but everybody here sees all of a sudden now, you see how the mind and the body work. It's all by design. We have one of the most, the human body is one of the most formidable creations out there. All right? What we look at, we point, and it merges that point with our eye, with our line of sight. Everybody is on, right? Everybody here sees what we're starting to get into now. That laser from our eyes, that becomes our line of fire from here on in. What you look at when you point, whether you point with your fingertip or whether you simply replace your fingertip with that gun, it merges into that laser, into your line of sight. That now becomes your line of fire. Sights will not exist. We are going to do what we call a sight check for training purposes to make sure that we are calibrating the weapon with our body, with both eyes open, so that we can rely on our body becoming the aim factor for that weapon. Everybody understand? So when we come up, we're going to just close one eye quickly and make sure those sights are relatively lined up and relatively where we are looking, so that we can calibrate everything, okay? Now, weapons out. For all the dry stuff, we're going to be working very dynamic and 360 degrees. Okay? We have to get used to that because that is a real life gunfight. A gunfight is not a duel where you've got you guys here, the bad guy there, and this is where the rounds come back and forth. There's no such thing as firearm safety rules in a gunfight. I don't care about firearm safety rules. Safety is not where you point your weapon. Safety is not whether your finger is on the trigger or not. Safety is on you making the decision to squeeze that trigger or not to squeeze that trigger and ensuring your line of fire is where it needs to be. Does everybody understand that concept? That is a real life gunfight. When we go live, obviously we are going to stick to safety principles. We have to, because we're dynamic and we don't want any accidents happening. But especially for the dry stuff, we're going to get as realistic as we can with the dynamicism and the magnitude of the environment. All right, so we have our barrel blockers as well. From here, we are now going to introduce the weapon into the equation. So, two things I want. Number one, create that laser again on a spot on the target. Okay? Just the face of the target. Everybody in your, neutral ready position. Neutral ready position. Remember neutral ready? The whole body is relaxed and neutral, but our weapon is 90 degrees. Elbow in our body. Okay? And all I want you to do now is create that laser from your eyes to that point, to the face area of the target. And I want you to point, but you're going to point with the sights of your weapon. Okay? Look at the point on the target. Bring your weapon to your line of sight, and you should see the sights appearing in between you and the face of the target. Okay? And then check the relative alignment of those sights and that they are sitting where you're looking at the target. Is there everybody here is on where they're looking? Yes? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. We understand the beginning dynamics and foundation here of point shooting. Okay? We understand what we're doing so far. Good. Now, we are going to merge this weapon, our dominant hand, and the support hand together, which means that what we're going to be doing now is establishing a grip. I want to quickly pause for a second, and I want to discuss grip. One thing I'll tell you guys right now. We have an objective, and every single thing that we are going to say and that we are going to do over these 2 days will A, remain congruent with the objective, and B, will always be in relation to that objective. It will have a purpose, that purpose is that objective. When somebody has not been in the water for long enough, or all they've been is knee-high water, they lose sight of the objective. If their whole thing is to teach you how to survive in the middle of a turbulent ocean when the water is over your head, but all they're talking about is experience of water up to their waist, then they start throwing in all these theories and techniques because there's no real foundation of an objective. Everything we do has a foundation of an objective. Years worth of proven and forced congruency to this objective. Grip is important. It's very important. Secondary to shooting if we talk about real life. It's important primary to shooting if we're talking about shooting, but we're not talking about shooting. We're talking about real life. Now, I'm going to take a very calculated guess here that probably every one of you uses the thumbs forward grip on your weapon. Yes? Like this? Is there anybody here who does not use this grip? All right, let's continue to dismantle some theories. So, that grip, the thumbs forward grip, is not a combat grip. It's a sport, target shooting, competition grip. The principles behind that grip encourage, enhance, and support shooting principles to get as much real estate on that weapon as possible. That is what it's there for. So you have more control over the weapon, minimizing recoil, getting better accuracy. Okay? Everybody's familiar with that purpose behind the grip? Yes? Just incidentally, are any of you guys instructors for your departments? Yeah? Hands up if you are. Okay. Instructors in what?
Rifle, pistol,
Okay, so shooting. Okay, tactics. Yeah, you have a SWAT background as well? Okay, you? DT, SWAT, okay, fantastic. I always make sure I pick on worthwhile adversaries, all right? So I just gotta make sure that I focus things on people who have been taught the same way that I have, so that we don't miss anything, and I'm not just talking based on talking, okay? So, this grip, it's for sport shooting, it is not for real life, and let me explain why. The most important fundamental, first and foremost, I talked about 2 stages that any shooting principle, any shooting system has to address. The first stage is the positive 5. It's again, when an officer gets the notion that there's a threatening environment, what's he or she gonna do? They're gonna be here. All they have to do is this and squeeze the trigger. Okay, we understand that. That's easy, pack it up, get rid of it. Everybody will succeed in that predicament. The second stage is where the weapon is here, holstered up, and we're talking to a threat, and all of a sudden rounds are flying at us, and we have to now reach, grab the weapon, deploy it, and now engage. That is the biggest problematic one. That is where police officers get killed in this country, in North America. Everything we do has to be the most optimal in congruency with both of those stages. So, my weapon is holstered. This grip here, thumbs forward, is a grip that requires 2 hands in order to facilitate the grip. Both hands have to be involved to complete this grip, right? Okay, with one hand missing, we don't have a full grip. We have too much of an opening on the weapon. This hand has to fit into this hand like a puzzle to complete the proper grip. Let me ask you this. If I had you guys dangling off of a cliff, all right? 10,000 high up cliff. Nothing under your feet, but the ground 10,000 feet below. And you're holding on like this. And if you mess up on your grip, you slip, you fall right to your death. First of all, who here would be afraid? Yeah, any person who's normal and who's honest will put their hand up to that question. All of us would be afraid because that's a scary situation. Your hands will be gripping. Okay, watch my hands. Will they be gripping like this? Will they be gripping like this? Just fingers hanging on? Or will they be gripping like this? Which one? 1, 2, or 3? Why 3? Because death awaits us if we fuck up. And that is scary for any human, correct? And you'll use every single part of your body naturally, the best way that you know how, with every fiber of muscle that you have, to make sure that when life and death is in the balance here, your body will not fail you. So we're standing like this now. -5. Rounds start flying at us. Is that as scary as dangling off of a cliff 10,000 feet up? I would say yes, because life and death is in the balance, it's the same. We're gonna be afraid? We're gonna be afraid. When your hand reaches for its gun, are you going to produce it like this? Or the second that your hand makes contact with the gun, are you gonna be like this? This is what you're gonna be. I promise you that. I don't think so, I know so. Because we are facing the realities of life and death right now. Not the stress of a range, the stress of life and death. And you're gonna be grabbing on like this. Every single muscle is gonna be engaged. Now, if your shooting is based on this, meaning that you have to grip your gun and produce it in a fashion that will allow for the secondary hand to enter, to complete the grip. If this is what your muscle memory is based on, if this is what your accuracy of shooting is based on, and all of a sudden rounds are flying and you grab the gun like this, When you bring it up, what's going to happen to the grip now? Is it compromised? Yes. You're going to be in a brand new predicament here that you have never introduced any muscle memory to, or never solidified any muscle memory to. This hand will be in a foreign predicament now that has nothing to do with what your body is used to and with what you know. Will it affect my shooting? It will. This is a grip, right here. A grip is one-handed. It doesn't mean we shoot with one hand. Understand the difference? The grip is one-handed. Number one, for that reason, because as soon as I make contact, as I go to produce my weapon, that grip has to already be there, and naturally, instinctively, in a -5, it will already be there. This hand is a support hand. That is its purpose. It's simply to support. It introduces itself in a manner that is going to support what we need to do. That's number one. Any questions on that so far? Weapons out for a second. In your grip, your thumb's forward grip, on target, I want you to focus on the face of the target. Go ahead, get behind your sights, focus on the face of the target. Weapon up. Okay, listen, two hands in your grip that you're used to. When I tell you to go ahead, you're going to start pulling that trigger. You're going to start to shoot, and you're not going to stop. Repeatedly, you're going to keep on shooting. When I say one hand, all you're going to do is you're going to keep on shooting, but you are going to remove your support hand as you continue to engage. When I say two hands, you're going to continue to shoot, but reintroduce your second hand. Everybody understand? Simple enough, right? Okay, stay focused on your target. Weapons up in your grip. Go ahead and start to engage. Engage, engage. Work the trigger. Work the trigger. Work. Don't stop. No, don't rack. Just keep squeezing the trigger. Don't worry about action right now. Don't rack. Drop your slides forward. And just squeeze that trigger. One hand. Squeeze that trigger. Two hands. One hand. Good. Two hands. One hand. Two hands. Okay, stop. Holster up. Okay. So, here's what happens. There's two things. More than 50% of you in here, and this, every single course, every single thing that I say, I do, I present, I'm going to sound very psychic much of the time, because this is the same. Everything that we're going to do, you're going to see. You've been in this business long enough, you will see everything that we're going to talk about here. So everybody like this, and they're engaging like this. And then all of a sudden we call one hand. What happens to this thumb? Why does it go down? Because this is a natural grip. And then we say two hands, and you do this. Less than 50%, when we say one hand, keep the thumb up here, which, number one, is this realistic in a gunfight? If you're shooting with one hand, would you have half a grip on a gun? No, you would do this naturally. However, let's assume for whatever reason that you did. When this happens, you know what starts to happen? You get all this movement on the thumb. Now, pause for a sec. A gunfight is a fight. It's dynamic. Everything changes. What you are doing and what you need to do will keep on changing back and forth. You might start out with two hands on the gun, and you're in the middle of an engagement, and all of a sudden you need one hand. You have to stop a door from closing. You have to open a door. You got to pull people out of the way. You got to stop somebody from running into your line of fire. You got to get on your radio. You got to get a flashlight. You have to reload. So you keep on going back and forth. And if you're going back and forth and your grip, your primary grip, hand, keeps on changing, is that going to affect your shooting? Yes. Every tiny little movement of the hand or the gun translates to a much greater disposition of where that round will actually impact the further we open up the distance. Everybody understands that, right? So if I'm doing this on the gun, or this as I'm shooting, Is it going to affect the gun? Is it going to affect my shooting? Yes. This is a grip. Whether this hand comes or goes does not affect the grip. That's 2. Last point, number 3. If we take this grip, the thumbs forward grip, okay, what kind of shooting do we have to do to succeed and survive and recover in a -5? Point shooting, instinctive shooting, okay? Ironically, a lot of police departments don't want to hear about that term because quite a while back, an officer was trained in point shooting, missed rounds in a gunfight, hit a civilian. When he got on stand in court, the opposing side tore to pieces saying, what do you mean point shooting? You mean your gun has sights, but you chose not to use them and lost a lawsuit. Everybody said, oh, point shooting is bad. It's wrong. It's not a good technique. We get sued. Well, we don't get to choose. In a -5, you will point shoot. You will point shoot. You can't argue that. It's a fact. Officers point shoot. That's why under 19%, because sights don't exist in the -5. That is our recovery method. We have to point shoot effectively and quickly so we can recover, transition to a +5, so we can hopefully get to the point where neurologically we have no tunnel vision and we have time to get behind the sights and get that accurate shot. You understand? So we have to point shoot. The thumbs forward grip is an uneven grip. Our support hand is further forward than our dominant hand. It already creates a disbalance in the position of the hands. When we have that disbalance in the hands, it creates disbalance in the gun. We have a push-pull dynamic. Because my support hand is so much further out, as I begin to extend my shooting hand, it starts to push as my support hand automatically pulls. Under stress, you will not be able to control gross motor skills, let alone fine motor skills, correct? You will not be thinking about alignment properly, like it is on the range, where I can allow for this micro bend that happens in the shooting arm. Okay, support arm is going to be locked out straight, but there's always this micro bend in the shooting arm, right? That is where that push-pull comes from. Under stress, you're going to be punching everything you have out to the threat. And so now, when you're not thinking about this micro bend and ensuring that there's no disruption of the gun, you get this. This is what happens to my muzzle. As this hand is pulling, and I continue to push with this hand, and I'm not controlling this dynamic, I have a misalignment. This grip is not conducive to point shooting, realistically under stress. Our hands are doing this. This is the alignment. Take your hands for a sec. Everybody sees the base knuckles of your thumb? I want you to connect them. Keep them glued. Okay? This is the foundation of our grip. Take your shooting hand, just make a fist, as if you've got your gun in there. And the support hand, just wrap it around. What you will find is that your middle knuckles of the support hand will roughly cover the middle knuckles of the shooting hand. Now, if you open your hands for a sec again, like this, keep the base of the knuckles together, just go into a prayer motion for a second, a prayer position like this with your hands, okay? Point your hands out. All right. We feel how symmetrical everything is. There's no push-pull, correct? You have a perfectly symmetrical triangle. It's nice and comfortable. If you push out with both hands as far as you want, it doesn't affect the symmetry, okay? When we now create that grip again, with our hands simulated, and we push out with both hands, it's symmetrical. When our hands, our arms, our shoulders are symmetrical, no matter how hard we're pushing, the gun remains in one place, aligned with the body. Everybody understand? That is our grip. This hand will already be in that grip. This hand, base knuckle connects, and we just wrap around, and this thumb just sits, folds over top of my shooting hand thumb. This is symmetrical. Doesn't matter how hard I'm pushing out. I always have the symmetrical triangle in here. Any questions on that? I will encourage you guys, especially in a training environment, that is the time to try new things. I will encourage you guys to work with this grip for the next 2 days because our focus here is reality. I'll encourage you guys to try to be congruent with that and take the opportunity of a training environment to try new things and try shooting with it, and then decide afterwards whether you keep it or you don't, okay? Neutral ready position, guns out. So all that's gonna happen from here, we already know what our lower body does, okay? Sits down quickly and our support leg shoots out to the side. What's gonna happen now is our hands are just going to meet in center. My elbow slides forward, and this hand is just gonna come up and meet it in center. When we put all that together, the gun now ends up about halfway between my body and full extension, this halfway point, okay? In from here. My hands are just gonna slide up, they connect. My grip is already established with my grip hand. Support hand just merges in, connects. Base of the thumbs connect. In this position here, the foundation of point shooting is our center line. Our center line. Everywhere that I look, everybody that I'm facing with my body, my center line is always lined up with it, no matter how far it is. So here with the weapon, if you guys watch, when they connect, my weapon is where? It's already lined up with center. Theoretically speaking, if I was to shoot you from here, would I hit? I would hit, okay? We can already see where the development of our accurate shooting without sights comes into play. By virtue of a grip that doesn't alter the gun alignment and a body position that's symmetrical to allow the gun to become the apex of my center line. You understand? Weapon stays parallel to the ground. We're not like this, we're not like this. So my arms just slide out till they connect in from here. That's all we're gonna do for right now, okay? So everybody eyes forward. Neutral ready. On the command of up, we're just gonna slide the weapon out in front of us until our hands connect into the grip. Ready, up. Stop, freeze right there. Start by looking at your feet. Are you on skis? Look at your knees. Hips forward, shoulders forward. Your gun. Take a look at the weapon. Take a look at your center line. Are they lined up? Okay? You see where my elbow is? We're not here. Okay? I want you guys to think about this for a second. How many of you have been taught or work with or teach, all right, this principle of weapon comes up, nice, tight, small package in close, and then from here you punch out. Are we familiar with that concept? Okay. Look at my gun. In order to do that, just want to make sure I'm in an angle everybody can see. In order to do that, as my weapon comes up, I bring it back into my body, right? I bring it back in. You guys see that motion? I bring it in to get this little tight package. Under stress, in a real life gunfight, the guy's in proximity, in front, shooting at you, you pull your weapon out. Where's that gun gonna go? Is it gonna suck back into your body just to come back out? No. That's another conjured up theory devoid of real life application and testing. Picture that threat is the world's most powerful magnet, and your gun is a big hunk of metal, and it's already pulling towards it. When I deploy my gun and it clears that holster, what's gonna happen to the gun? It is punching out forward as fast and hard as it can. The gun will not come back in, only to go back out. That's a negation, a contradiction of real life. Your gun will punch out to the threat as fast as possible, and it should. It should. We need to engage as fast as possible, not waste time on setting and prepping, and we need to be as close to the threat as we can to get more accuracy. Everybody understand? So from here, you see my elbow, our neutral ready where we start? My elbow never comes back. From here, as we get into our position here and join the grip, everything comes forward already. We're going forward and forward. Everybody understand? So from here, we just roll the hand out until they meet, okay? Weapon forward, neutral ready. Eyes forward. Okay, we're just on the command of up, joining in front, about halfway. Up. Okay, go back. Much quicker. Make your stance narrower. Don't go into a wide stance. It takes too long. We're not getting into a stance. We're just exploding down. Exploding down, foot anchors wherever it stops. Nice and fast, right from here. Up! Look at your gun. Where's it pointed? If you had to shoot right now at the threat that you're looking at, will you hit? Weapon should be parallel to the ground, in line with your center. Okay? Elbows are just rolled up in front. You're about halfway. And back. Ready. Up! Good. And back. Ready. Up! Good. So these two knuckles, blue. That's it, combined. Very good. And back. Up! I couldn't care about you too much, so I want you to practice this for 2 days. These two knuckles. Just rest at the top, naturally. And back. Up! And back. Up! These two knuckles glued together. This thumb. And back. Up! Extend, extend. Just keep diving in. Never done to a pull before? Good. Very good. Shoulders are together, flat, squared off, elbows lined up, hands lined up. Right here. That's it. Good. And back. One more time. Ready. Up! Excellent. And back. Everybody here has dove into a pool before, right? Dove into a pool, right? We don't dive like this, right? Hands don't do this. Nice and even, symmetrical. That's what we want. That's our platform. This isosceles triangle right here. Okay. Next stage. So we have 1, 2. 2. All we're doing now is pointing. That point, all we're doing is elevating the gun, merging it into our line of sight, which becomes our line of fire. Because we're in calm circumstances here on the range, both eyes are open, and you should be able to see your sights get in the way, merging into your line of sights. And what you're going to do is you're just going to focus on those sights, not aiming with them, but you're going to focus as they're moving, just ensuring that you have a good relative alignment. So it's going to be 1 and 2. My eyes don't look at the gun, my head doesn't drop, everything is up straight. You can bring your torso slightly forward, okay? Everything is squared off, lined up. My grip establishes here, and all I'm doing now is punching out. You hold the weapon where you're looking at the target, and then glancing at your sights, make sure you have an alignment. So we're going to actually make it a count now. It's going to be 1, 2, 3. We come back to that same position. And 4 is back. Okay? Weapon out, neutral ready, eyes forward. Your target is shooting at you. Your eyes are shooting at it until the weapon comes up. Your eyes become your line of fire. 1. Okay, so we're just here right now. Arm is more bent than it is straight. Elbows are closer to the body. 2. Just punch up, merge the weapon into your eyes. 3. And back. Back, neutral ready, relax. Ready. 1, 2, 3, and back. Ready. Eyes always forward. Neutral ready, which means your whole body is relaxed. Your feet are not wide. You're standing relaxed, neutral. 1, and back. So, what is the guiding ingredient? It's going to exist, and it's something that we have to be because of the fact that it exists. In a gunfight, we have to be what? Everything is going to happen how? Very fast. We have to be fast. Remember this? This is a bad guy sitting here shooting at you. And we, unfortunately, are stuck here right now. Until you get the up command. Rounds are flying by you, luck is keeping you alive. So to catch up, when we talk about projectiles flying 1,000 feet per second at us, nanoseconds apart, we have to be super fast. Okay? Not this. 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 Even though we're breaking everything up into stages right now, every stage has to be super quick. Momentarily, we're going to take away the stages and put it all together. I want to make sure that every stage we're doing it properly before we do that. Okay? Everything is quick. You're exploding as fast as hard as you can. Eyes forward. Neutral ready. Rounds are flying at you. Your death grip is on the gun. Remember, stay realistic. Your death grip is already on the gun. 1. And back. 1. And back. 1, 2. And back. 1, 2, 3. 3, we just retract back to here. Okay, this becomes our operational zone. This is where the gun meets the second hand. This is where we reload and clear malfunctions. This is where our point comes from. Okay, so 3, we just come back to this zone. And back. One more time. 1, 2, 3. And back. Okay, holster up. From now, it's going to be 1, 2. With 2, what are we doing? We're punching out, which means that we're doing what? From now on, every time we punch out, your finger is doing this on your weapon. And you don't stop until we're told to. Okay? So 2, 3, and back. Weapons out. This target is firing at you. Threat is unloading rounds at you. Bullets are flying by your head. 1, 2. Engage. Finger works. Finger starts to work. 3. And back. Okay, relax for 1 second. I'm going to give you guys a very, very crucial ingredient here that I know you've never been taught, probably never heard of. And it is absolutely crucial to sustain ourselves effectively in the type of shooting that we're doing. So our shooting method here is point shooting or instinctive shooting. I call it dynamic response shooting. That's just the name of how I deliver the program. But that's the shooting method. How are we shooting? Violent, aggressive, and remember, what's that key ingredient again? Fast. Are we shooting fast? For every 1 round that comes at us, we're going to naturally send 10 rounds back. We are shooting in bursts with this gun. When we start to pick up pace with shooting on the range, what tends to happen to the grouping? Okay, it's not supposed to spread. And do you know why it spreads? It spreads because you allow it to. At the end of the day, it's us who are in control of the weapon. The weapon does not control us. Should we be loose on the gun, or should we be tight and hard? Okay. Whether you agree or disagree with it, you have to be tight and hard because you're going to be regardless. When rounds are flying at you, are you going to be loose and relaxed, or are you going to be tense and compressed and hard? That's how you're going to be. Now, with that, we are unloading on this gun. Every time we squeeze the trigger, what happens inside this weapon? There's an explosion that takes place. There's this instinctive reaction that the gun has. That reaction, that recoil, that's what causes the the weapon to bounce around and can translate into misses. We have to control it. We have to be super hard. Your arms, your hands are like a vice on this gun. You don't allow it to move. You constrict the hell out of it. You're going to be shooting quick. You have to constrict it. Next, crucial key. This area here of our body, the core, it's what controls everything. It's our center of gravity, and that is what controls everything. As hard and as tight as possible. When this is loose, everything else gets detached and starts to move. Core is nice and tight. The whole body stays strong. You understand? So every time now when we punch out, you are flexing your core muscles as hard as you possibly can, and it stays tight and strong. If I have a building, okay, a 20-story building weighs hundreds of thousands of tons, and it's strong, but its foundation is one little spring, literally just a spring that the whole thing sits on. What's going to happen to that building? Is it stable? Doesn't matter how strong it is. That building is like our grip, our shoulders or arms. This is that spring. We don't want it on a spring. We want that building solid on solid foundation. Now, is the building strong and stable? Yes. It's the same thing, okay? You punch out, everything stays nice and strong. You're going to be unloading super fast. You have to control that gun. You understand? Weapon out. Neutral ready. We're starting to ramp up for the fight. We're starting to pick up the pace. We're going to start eliminating gaps and spaces between all the stages, and then we're going to start to get really dynamic, guys. We're going to start to fight for 2 days. You're going to be in the fight of your life, and you can't lose. Bullets are flying at you. 1, 2, punch out, engage, 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 out. Strong, 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 strong. Engage, engage, engage. Strong, strong, strong. Strong, 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 strong. 3. And back. Ready. 1, 2. Punch it down all the way out. There we go. There we go. Engage, 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 engage. No loosening up, no getting tired. 3. And back. Holster up. Okay, last element we're going to introduce, and then we're getting dynamic without any gaps in between all this. So, you draw, you engage, you stop to engage. Why do you stop to engage? Why do you stop squeezing that trigger? Okay, thread is down, thread has gone behind cover. Something has changed in the dynamic that you have made the cognitive decision that you don't need to continue to squeeze that trigger. Right now, we're going to go with the thread is down. Thread is hit and is down and is not moving. That's just what we're going to stick with right now for this principle. So I finished to shoot because of that. What do I do next? Okay. So what do you guys do?
Stay on target.
You what?
Stay
So
on target.
scan and what you say? Stay on target. So you finish the shoot. You just stay here. For how long?
So you know he's done.
How do you know he's done?
Walk up on him. Stay on target.
Okay. So you guys are holding back on me because I know how you guys are taught. I know. Weapons out. Weapons out. Up. On target. Engage. Just engage. Just do your thing. Pretend you are not on some Israeli active shooter course right now. You are at your range, your home base, and it's a shooting day. And the instructor just blew the whistle and said, up. What happens next? Show me. Don't tell me, just do it. What do you guys do? Why are you guys afraid to do what you do? Because I'm going to pick on you? Yes, I will, but that shouldn't scare you. What do you do? What are you doing? Okay, thank you. Very good. Is that important? Do we have to do that? Yes, we do. But guess what? I've not seen it done properly anywhere yet. Period. Zero. Let's fix that now. So, holster up for a sec. We finished to shoot. So next we scan. What do we scan?
Left, right, and right.
So the environment. Okay, why are we doing that? Make sure there's no additional threats. Okay. So, we do need to scan. You have to. But the scanning that everybody's taught in North America, A, it's the wrong order. There are 3 things you have to do, and that is the last one. This environmental threat scan. 2, it's not done properly. Number 1, in North America, I want you guys to give me a case study wherever there was an incident where a police officer was engaged back, the shooting was done. After the shooting was done and that primary threat went down, another threat popped up with a gun and re-engaged the police officer. Anybody give me an example? I'm not testing, I'm actually asking. This is what I do. Everywhere I go, I bug people by asking them why and prove it. Give me an example. I don't know of any such incident in which that has occurred. In every case that has happened so far in North America, where there were more than one threat, they both produced themselves and engaged at the same time. Understand? Do you know when this came to be? Because all of a sudden the whole world went to Iraq. In Iraq, Afghanistan, just like in Gaza, Lebanon, do we have to worry about many threats in one environment, Mike? Yes, because we're in the ant farm. We're in their territory. We crashed their party. They're all over the place, setting up ambushes, waiting for us. Every step we take, there's many of them around. In North America, that doesn't exist. However, let me tell you what does happen in North America. What has gotten police officers killed in North America in engagements is that police officers would be in an engagement. The weapon is empty or the weapon is jammed. They stop to shoot because they figure the threat is down, because the threat went down, repositioned. Threat resurfaced, and the officers are now engaging the threat like this. Are they shooting at the threat? No, they think they are. Is the threat shooting at them? Yes. And they're doing this. Why? With an empty gun or a malfunctioned gun. Why? Meaning what? How does that translate to them doing this?
They must have thought the threat was over, then all of a sudden that stuff floods them again, so they go back to...
Yeah, but why are they shooting with an empty gun?
Yeah, realize it.
Why didn't they realize? This gun, you know what the beauty about the semi-automatic pistol is? When there's a problem, it's going to tell you, and it'll tell you what it is. Well, I'm sorry, it won't tell you, even better, it'll show you. My gun right now is what? Empty. How do you know? Because it's showing us. And we have police officers doing this. So yes, stress has very adverse effects on us. From either inability to see the gun and what has happened, or not being able to be connected with what we're doing because we're dominated by the stress. And they're squeezing the trigger, not even realizing the gun is not firing. If the gun goes empty, it's going to show us. Loud and clear. Simple Hebrew. Or complicated English. It will show you that it's empty. If I have a double feed, everybody knows what a double feed is, right? Everybody knows what a double feed is? Okay, when I've got 2 rounds in the chamber, or a combination of a round and an empty casing, okay, I have this big obstruction. Can we visually identify that? yes, it'll show us. It'll not shoot, and then if we look at it, we will see the double feed. If I have what we refer to as a jam 1, a failure to feed or a failure to fire, this is where I squeeze the trigger and the gun doesn't shoot. Does it show us? It doesn't show us because the slide is locked forward. We know that there's a jam 1 by virtue of the fact that we squeeze the trigger and nothing happens. What is the remedy for a jam 1? Tap and rack. Is that simple? Yes. Is it fast? Yes. What is the most complicated of all the malfunctions that we can get, including an empty? What is the most complicated one to remedy? The double feed. The longer process, number 1. Number 2 requires us to also extract the magazine, and that reinsertion of a magazine of a small point into a small point under stress is very complicated. And the second most complicated, or not complicated, but longer to do, is remedying reloading, remedying an empty. The irony is that the easiest malfunction, the jam 1, failure to feed or failure to fire, the quickest one to remedy, doesn't give us a visual indication. But the most complicated ones that are either more complex to remedy or take longer, the double feed or the empty, they tell us loud and clear. You have all seen this, I promise you. If you've been in the business of shooting long enough, you have seen this. If I've seen it more than enough times, I promise you that you have as well. Where you're on the range, in training, and the instructor blows the whistle, the command of up, whatever, and the officers go up and they shoot. And then they're done shooting. They come back and they're doing this. And they come to here, and the weapon is like this. And then the whistle goes again, up, and they come up to shoot, and they're like, oh shit. And they have to remedy when they were given the command to shoot. Who here has seen that before on the range? Okay? That is the equivalent, all right, when the whistle goes, when you have to shoot and you realize that you have a malfunction, that is the equivalent of slamming on your brakes after your car has left the cliff. You misused the brakes, you didn't understand the application, and or you applied them too late. You understand that? What good does it do for me to finish an engagement, have an empty or a double feed, scan my environment, identify a secondary threat, only then to realize that my gun has a problem? That threat is shooting at me, and I now have to first realize I have a problem, let alone the following steps of remedying it to get back into the fight. Serves no purpose. I finish to engage, the threat is down. What is the first thing that I have to check? It's your weapon. This is your life-saving tool. This, in North America, has killed more police officers than a police officer doing this and suddenly encountering a secondary threat. You understand that? Number 1, we check our weapon. It's done 2 ways. I finish to engage. Immediately, if I've made the cognitive decision to stop shooting, that means that I know to check my weapon. And all I'm doing is just, the weapon is retracting anyways. We never stand here. Weapon is coming back anyways. So as I'm retracting, I'm just slightly canting the weapon up so I can see the ejection port. That's all I need to see. My eyes just glance off of the ejection port as they continue on to the threat. As I'm coming in, a quick little secondary pause just to visually look at the disposition of the ejection port. If it's locked up like this, I assume everything is great. If the threat pops back up and I have to re-engage and I pull the trigger and get that, what do I have to do? Tap rack, and I know this already. Out of the list of the 3 or 4 different things I might have to do, I don't have to worry about 2 to 3 of them. I know what I have to do. Have I saved time and gone back in the fight quicker? Yes. If as I retract and I do my ejection port, I see an empty ejection port, I know what I have to do. If I've decided it's time to stop shooting, that means that I have most likely the time to now quickly take a second or 2 to reload or remedy a malfunction. So that's number 1. I finish to shoot, I quickly, as my weapon comes in, I'm just quickly glancing off the ejection port. That's it, a quick little glance. My weapon goes where at this point? So if I'm gonna now do this, where does my weapon go to? What are you guys taught? So where, here? Okay, down, inside, okay. I don't really care where it goes. You're gonna bring it in nice and tight, it should. Okay, if we're not shooting, we don't wanna keep it exposed out there. There's instructors out there that will tell you wherever your eyes go, your weapons go. In Iraq, Afghanistan, Gaza, yes. Not in North America. I don't want to be doing this, all of a sudden realize there's a threat here, and now I have a much longer process to reorient. My weapon stays in center. So even if right now I'm standing here, if I suddenly have a threat that pops up, I've got a short, even distance to go to either which way. What that also allows me to do, I visually check my weapon. As my weapon now comes to here, as I'm dealing with the rest of my environment, what is my thumb doing? I'm now physically checking my ejection port. I can feel this. I can feel a double feed. With that, how many of you guys here know of, do, or have been taught? You do low light shooting, night shooting, right? How do you tell that you have a malfunction or an empty with your gun when there's no lights? You have to feel. Okay? So even just for low light condition, as I do my visual inspection, I'm also just quickly checking physically. But I don't leave everything to chance. Everything that might better me, I throw at the equation. So as I visually check, my weapon comes down. Before I do the environment, there's another scan I have to do in between weapon and environment. We'll talk about that in a second. But as I do that, no matter what else I'm doing here now, even if I'm moving, I can continue to physically check my weapon, make sure it's still in the fight. So, we finish to shoot. The first thing that we do is what? Visual inspection of the weapon. Make sure it's still going to save my ass if I have to fight. The time to identify a problem and to remedy it is when you have finished to shoot. If you identify a problem and try to remedy it when it's time to shoot, you're doing things backwards, literally. You understand that? I check my weapon. That is number one. What do I have to check next? What is more probable, again, here in North America? Is it a secondary threat popping up in my environment, or is it the initial threat suddenly getting back into the fight? The initial threat getting back into the fight. Again, does not exist one case. And I ask everywhere I go, I ask them all, I ask everybody, my instructors, my commanders, people I teach, other professionals, please tell me one time where this occurred. What you're telling me to do here, tell me one time where it's actually happened. Never in North America has been a case yet where a secondary threat has popped up after that first threat was engaged that I've been able to learn of. I check my weapon. My stress level is where right now? It's high. It's high. You're just in a gunfight. It's a scary thing. It changes you inside and out. It affects you. Your heartbeat is pounding like crazy. Your mouth is dry. Your breathing is fast. Your adrenaline is pumping. You're shaking, right? What else? Am I missing anything else? This is what you're going to feel. Stress helps us, but it's also not good for us. It creates tunnel vision. I have to get rid of the stress. How do we get rid of stress? What is the antidote for stress? Oxygen. You guys start sucking in as much air as you can. Start oxygenating the blood. It'll start clearing out the adrenaline. It'll start reducing your stress. I take the time to do that now. So I finish to engage, weapon. Sucking in, deep breath. And next, what am I scanning? The threat that went down. That's number two. Not the environment, the threat. Focusing on that threat right now. What is he doing? Why did he go down? Is he moving? Does he still have a weapon? I've taken 2 or 3 breaths. I'm a little bit calmer. Now what do I check? The environment. Now let's talk about checking the environment. It still is not done right. The concept is right, yes. It's been done in the wrong order, and it's not done right. So everybody does this. What have I done there right now? What have I done? Have I checked my environment? No. I've just swung my head left and right. That's what everybody does. I can be on a range. I can sit here, get behind an officer, put a gun like this. And you know what happens a lot of times? They check their left, right, and the rear, and I'm still here pointing a gun at them. People just enact actions arbitrarily with no purpose behind it. Everything you do in life has to have a purpose behind it. If not, you're just doing the action. You're not benefiting from what that action is. You're wasting time and energy. We are looking all over the place to do what? To collect data. Your eyes do that for you. They have to take that data, they have to identify it, then they got to take that data to your mind to process. You have to give it time for that to happen, number one. Number two, you have to let the eyes work. When you have tunnel vision and you're under stress, you're going through motions, but you're not seeing anything. When I look left, okay, so number one is the actual process of collecting the data. So as I look, I'm always asking myself, what's around me, who's around me, what are they doing? I'm asking myself those questions, and I need to give myself a response. I look. I move as slow or as fast as I can while ensuring I'm not missing the answers to that question. I'm collecting the data. And then from here, I finish to engage. That's number one. I look with a purpose. I collect that data. Move as slow as you need to, collect the information. There's only so much you can do. Can the bad guy pop up while my head is turned? Yes, and if that happens, that's just your bad luck in that moment in time. There are many things that we're not going to be able to control, and by trying to be faster to try to remedy a possibility, you're causing yourself more harm. You understand that? So number one, I look properly. I'll talk about proper in a sec. I collect the data. Next, here's what happens. Maybe we've regulated our tunnel vision. Maybe we've opened it up a little bit. We still have an overflow of stress. It's going to happen. It takes a while for it to kind of simmer down. Everybody does this. I want you guys to try to see my eyes.